Salam sejahtera, anda bersama saya Rizal Zulkapli dan ini AWANI Global. Ketika ini sedang berlangsung sidang meja bulat berkenaan pentadbiran yang baik di dalam Malaysia baru oleh ISIS dan ia disertai oleh 5 pemimpin muda dari 5 negara ASEAN. Dan tentunya Asia Tenggara terdiri daripada 10 negara dan tentunya terdapat pelbagai kerajaan di dalam 10 negara ini dan setiap kerajaan mempunyai cara tersendiri, falsafah dan juga ideologi sendiri untuk menyelesaikan masalah dalaman negara mereka. Dan biarpun di bawah satu panji-panji ASEAN, setiap negara mempunyai cabaran yang tersendiri dan juga penyelesaian kepada cabaran ini tersendiri. Dan untuk melihat kepada pentadbiran yang baik di dua negara ASEAN, Singapura dan juga Thailand, kita bersama dengan Rahayu Masham, Member of Parliament for Jurong GRC, Republic of Singapore, dan juga Polnokcha Chakpet, Representative of Partai Parti. Saya akan teruskan perbincangan dalam bahasa Inggeris dan let's start with the very obvious. You are both young and you are involved in politics in your individual countries. Let's look at good governance. When it comes to good governance, what do the young people expect from young people in politics when it comes to good governance? Rahayu?
I think now there is a lot more call for transparency, for accountability, for the government to actually be clean and be willing to really care for the people. So policies that are being made, people will question them. People want it to make sure it matches their needs. So there's a lot more awareness now. I think maybe because of the ability to access information through the internet, to social media. So people question more, I think, and I think what people expect is a government that is efficient and that is able to address the concerns on the ground.
And Polnokcha, will this make the job of a politician that much harder with the availability of information on the internet, access to information on the internet? People are a bit more aware, young people especially, are more connected and they can discuss issues across platform. Will it make the job of a politician harder?
I mean, fake news has been one of the major issues in politics around the world. But I mean, having a lot of set of information is always better than having just one set, one-sided. But it is a matter of double checking the information. But like I think that the set of information does have a direct impact on politics, and politicians will have to adapt constantly. But like I said, it is always good to have a lot of set of information for the people to be able to judge on their own whether which set of information best makes sense most to them.
What about young people? What role do they play when it comes to good governance and politics in Thailand?
In Thailand, young students actually play a lot of role. Politicians and political parties go out to student unions to actually, at the current moment in Thailand, my party and the other 6 opposition parties are trying to call for the amendment of the constitution to make the constitution more democratic, because we believe that in having a full functioning democratic system, we have to start from having a democratic constitution. And a democratic constitution has to come from the people. That is what we believe in. So the students and the youngs will play a crucial role in the sense of promoting for a better democracy in the country. And this could be done through the rallies of promoting for the constitution amendment.
Rahayu, do young people in Singapore, are they involved? Are they very much involved and are they actively involved in politics?
Well, in Singapore there's a lot more activism in causes, issues that matter to young people. So the environment, mental health, and also things that affect them, education. So it is very centered on their needs. So they do ask and ask for that platform, and there are platforms and opportunities for them to dialogue with the leaders, with ministers, to question why policies are made. And there's also a lot of activism from within the schools and the different young groups. And so that's what we're seeing more of. They're more interested in actually making a change, substantive change, to the things that's happening around them.
And you are a member of parliament. How Is it challenging to also look at the country as a whole and to be able to champion issues close to the heart of the young people in Singapore? How do you balance that?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not alone, and we work as a team. So with regards to the issues, we all champion different issues, but we all also have the interests of the country at heart. So when we do raise certain things, it's all at a level where we are aware what's good for everyone in general. And that's not inconsistent, I think, with us pursuing the different causes, because every one of us will take a certain portion of the plate. And that's what makes the parliament beautiful, because you've got different people championing different issues. And so I suppose the challenge is really in making sure that you also address the needs of your residents, because each MP also has different municipal infrastructure issues.
And for you, it's Jurong.
Yes, in Jurong, in particular Bukit Batok East, and so they would have certain other needs. So my job is not just the parliamentary job, but also the job of handling the area and the facilities surrounding that, and that may be a little bit less related to, say, national issues, but still as important, because it is important to the needs of the people. The roads, the pedestrian crossings, overhead bridges, these are things that people also need as part of their life. So that needs to be addressed as well. So I suppose it is not so much a challenge of it being difficult to handle because they're inconsistent, but because there's a broad things, a lot of area to cover. But in general, there's been a lot of engagement, and I think that's very good, because that's always something very meaningful for us. It allows us to actually really truly understand what people want from the ground, and to raise those issues as important to them in Parliament.
And Palnocha, let's look at the rise of young people in politics. Sorry, you were about to take a sip of that drink. Let's look at the rise of young people in politics, especially in Thailand. Looking at the recent election that just concluded in Thailand, the Future Forward Party by Thanaton Juarong Rongkit snatched about 81 seats out of the 500 seats contested in the House of Representatives, and Pheu Thai as well, 137 seats out of the 500 seats. We see a growing demand for democracy, for good governance, especially from young people in Thailand. Being close to the leader of the opposition and advising the leader of the opposition, what advice do you give? Do you look at only the young people, or do you also, like Rahayu, venture from the very micro to the very macro, issues like roads and amenities to the policy level issues?
So I'm a very strong believer of liberal democracy. My roles in advising is divided into two parts. Firstly, is parliamentary work. So the parliamentary was just recently set up around 3 months ago. So I prepare the direction, I prepare the speeches, I prepare the policy in a macro scale for the leaders as well as other executive members of the party. But also I do work closely with the civil society in promoting democracy. Like I said, we are trying currently, the opposition, the 7 opposition parties consisted of the Pheu Thai party mainly and the Future Forward party. We know that the youngs really demand change. So it is a matter of a generation gap. We could see the youngs having a slightly more progressive mindset, demanding for more change, for equal, for human rights. But we also see another part where people over 70 voting for the military faction, where they are slightly lean towards the conservative or the right side as well. So my job, my duty, working in politics, is to reflect my belief, which is to try to make my country democratic, try to create a free, fair, and equal society for the people, for the young, for the future generations. So to conclude that question, I have two main duties in the party. The first duty is to serve the leader and to serve the leader of the opposition as well as other executive members in guiding, in creating policies, in guiding speeches. The latest one was on budget review. The first one was the opening speech of the leader of opposition. So I worked on parliamentary work as well. And the second work is we go rally throughout the country, working closely with the youngs, especially from the student unions. In the north, in Chiang Mai, in the east, in Won Ratchathani, in central province, in Bangkok, and in the south, deep south of Thailand, in Pattani. So I have mainly two functions in the party.
Now, Tun M said before this that ASEAN has 650 million people but has not performed the way we should. There are currently 213 million youth in ASEAN in 2017. How do we harness the potential of this individual youth and to look at how they can also contribute to the regional way of solving things and solving challenges that are currently facing the youth in Southeast Asia right now? Kita akan berehat seketika, bincangkan perkara tersebut sebentar saja lagi. Dan bertemu kembali, kita membincangkan berkenaan dengan anak muda dan juga ASEAN. Sebentar tadi kita melihat bagaimana setiap negara mempunyai pendekatan berbeza tentang anak muda dan juga isu-isu yang dibincangkan oleh anak muda di negara ini. Kita ingin melihat bagaimanakah cara terbaik yang digunakan oleh negara-negara seperti Singapura dan juga Thailand dapat dipraktikkan di dalam ASEAN untuk memastikan anak muda di ASEAN mendapat akses yang sama kepada peluang-peluang dalam bidang ekonomi, politik dan juga bagaimanakah mereka boleh membawa diri mereka ke peringkat yang lebih tinggi. Rahayu, let's look at how we can use the best practices in Singapore to address issues in Southeast Asia with regards to young people. We know that Singapore is one of the more advanced nations in Southeast Asia. With that, I'm sure comes a wealth of knowledge and knowing how to educate young people better, how to provide opportunities for young people better. Can that be shared with the other Southeast Asian nations?
I think we all have different strengths. In ASEAN, we all bring to the table different sort of values and different meaningful insights. And Singapore, we are fortunate because you're a smaller country. So it is a bit easier to coordinate, I think, policies and to actually run certain things. So it's easier to be a little bit more efficient about things. So I think clearly Singapore would love to play that role as much as we can to also share what we have learned and also learn from others about that. And I think this youth, I'd like to say though that it's a perennial issue that we can't assume that one country knows best, you know, in that sense. Because firstly, the countries all have different demographics, different challenges, and different ideals as well because of its own circumstances. And secondly, the whole mystery of the millennials and how you communicate and deal with them, I think it's a common challenge that a lot of leaders may face. So that's something that we all have to deal with together. I think platforms for sharing definitely exists within ASEAN, and for me it's really, I think, a lot of conversations. It is really about harnessing our energies together. One platform we have is the ASEAN Youth Forum that has come around, and I think that allows for the different youth within ASEAN to dialogue with different leaders, and then internally build their own bonds and networks. And these are the friendships that you build. And I think hopefully it is through these relationships. Subsequently, when they become leaders, you already have a basis of this relationship. That's one platform to share. Clearly, the other is sharing of best practices, and I think that happens regularly throughout the different ministries. You know, when they share or when they come together, the different leaders. But I suppose ASEAN is currently a platform where they're a lot more focused with a lot more, I suppose, bigger high priority issues. Like perhaps the South China Sea and
but that's
global
the thing.
trends.
Is it a zero-sum game? Can't they
no,
focus?
of course not.
Can't
Yeah,
they do both?
because all these things matter to the young people. Because you spoke about the work, right, and employment. Because if we don't set these things right at the top and the economic conditions for people, then you don't even have anything to begin with in that sense. So you do have to talk about things that may appear to not be directly related to the interests of the young people, but matter in terms of setting the stage for allowing them to thrive. So I think Tun Mahathir's call is a very good rallying call, because I think he was comparing it to China, which has managed to harness the 1.3 billion potential of its people to actually make a significant impact to growth, right? So how can we do that in ASEAN? Because we have a significant number. We are different countries, so that's one challenge that we need to address. But how can we then create a market that is accessible to all, so that our young people would have platforms to go and reach out, and then also have careers and make something good for themselves. So some of this sort of what appears bread and butter issues, even climate, more matter to our young people. Speaking together, talking about this together is important, because we then need to deal with this together. Even the South China Sea issues, because if we sort of pass on this legacy of having not solved these problems, that will be something that our young people have to deal with. So these are still real issues. And so at ASEAN, I suppose it's at a different level of discussion. But that doesn't mean these issues are not important and not relevant to our young people. But of course, separately, I think with a lot, other platforms, even with programs like this, to actually sort of bring us to the table, talk to each other, I think that allows for us to engage and build relationships beyond the leadership. That hopefully will build sharing, understanding, and you have it at many different levels. And then you can truly see that ASEAN multilateralism happening pervasively throughout the relationships, at the social level, political level, and economic level.
But Palongsha, currently there is that reality on the ground. If you go to certain countries, people don't really know what ASEAN is all about, how they can benefit from ASEAN. You've got the 10 unicorns in Southeast Asia. These companies are already cross-border, and they are born regional. And they look at regional issues and challenges, and they try to solve them from one headquarter in one particular country. But looking at the reality, the ideal that Tun M wants, which is harnessing the power and the potential of the 650 million people, how can the 230 million youth play their roles, their different roles to achieving this? I'm sure they have many different strengths among themselves, but how can they go beyond their looking at issues in their own country and go regional?
So to answer the question, I believe that I have to start from saying that I do have really high hopes for the future of the ASEAN region. I believe that the millennials that are born in this period, during the fourth industrial revolution, acknowledges the importance of data. They understand the effects of technological disruption, and these youngs have potential to be able to build on from the old economy. The past model of investment and export-led growth that used to reduce poverty in the past very remarkably in Malaysia, also in Thailand during the 1980s, could not be adapted anymore. Right now, governments, not only the youngs, but the politicians will have to point on a certain direction where regulations that may obstruct the small ones, obstruct the SMEs from growing, will have to be abolished. And the government and ASEAN members will have to pay more attention on investing in research and development and in data. In this sense, the ASEAN region as a whole, combining the experience of the elders and the understanding of the technological revolution from the youngs, I am very confident that ASEAN has many things to offer. And as the world is moving very constantly, I believe that the economic and the consumption behavior of people is changing every day. So therefore, it is very crucial to invest in data, to be able to analyze the data management and demand management, so that the ASEAN region could manufacture and cater to the global demands. In this way, I believe that the youth will play a crucial role in serving the global demands in the future. But only the youth alone could not succeed. But it will require deregulation. I'll give an example of Thailand. In Thailand, we have a law for minimum manufacturing of beer. So the minimum requirement is 10 million liters per month. Imagine an SME doing a craft beer or building their own beer company. How would they be able to produce 10 million liters of beer per month? So these laws and regulations have to be deregulated to open way for the youngs, to open way for SMEs, to open way for the youngs to be able to serve in the new economy. The new economy specifically referring to the 3 C's. The first C is creative economy, second is craft economy, and third is caring economy. If the government work closely and understand the wills, understand the changes in the world of disruption, in the world of 4th Industrial Revolution, and if work well with the youth, I'm pretty sure that the youth will be able to cater, and in the future, the youth of the ASEAN will be able to cater to the demands, the global demands. Yeah.
I know there's probably a slight negative connotation or perception when people say the ASEAN way of doing things. It will take quite a long time, a slow process for things to happen. But can we rethink of the way, the new, creating a new positive, more positive perception when it comes to the term, the ASEAN way of doing things, attaching weight to young people to also put forth their ideas and their collaborations to create a better version of a developed region through the ASEAN way. Do you think that's possible?
You have the answer within your question. Right? Because yes, the challenge and the reality is this, because when you talk about actually working together with different countries and having different priorities, it's going to be a challenge. And critics will say, you know, ASEAN is just convening powers, but what is it doing in taking actual actions? But we must celebrate some of the small wins. I mean, so maybe, for example, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, right? We weren't able to announce it because, you know, one country didn't completely agree. But the fact that out of that, 15 countries agreed, that is a move in itself. So, and the fact that ASEAN is actually really talking about some of the real issues and actually sensing having a ground sensing of what matter to people, it's actually a win. So you're right in that, yes, there may be the baggage, you know. So we need to, I suppose, ASEAN needs to do better in terms of trying to coordinate and trying to understand how to address each other's concerns. But we have made strides, and I think it's about acknowledging that. But there are a lot of other platforms that we can create. Having ASEAN as that umbrella, but also actually engaging young people to different opportunities and different groups and programs like the one that we are participating in that will allow for a more casual, a more relaxed conversation. And I think the value of the young people, like you say, they probably don't have that baggage with them because they're quite interested in a certain cause. When they're interested in the cause, they're quite passionate about it, and they tend to just focus on wanting to get things done for that. So maybe we could leverage on those sort of characteristics of the young people and harness the energy, channel it the right way, and probably creating more platforms for them to come to solutions. So for example, in Singapore, one of the efforts that we have is this Youth Action Plan, where we actually try and bring in young people to actually give them opportunities to talk about, say, climate change. And we have this Somerset Belt, which is an area in Orchard Road. We tell them, what is it that you want to see? And get them to co-create it with the government, but getting them to understand some of the technicalities, challenges. So when people have that information, when we provide that platform for them to sit together and say, okay, these are the trade-offs, these are the challenges, what can you create together? So it's about doing that. And perhaps we could sort of enhance that at a bigger level at ASEAN, where we actually sit down and say, hey, this is the problem, these are some of our challenges, these are some of the ways we could do it, how could we do this together? And perhaps it's about scaling up some of these efforts. And reaching out to a lot more young people within the community. Okay,
I'm going to ask Paul Nocha the last question, and after that I'm going to go to you because we have about 2-3 minutes left. Paul Nocha, what did you learn from these conversations, from the conversations that you had with your other speakers, Rahayu and also speaker from Indonesia and Vietnam? What did you learn, and what would you bring back to Thailand to maybe make that small change that Rahayu said earlier, that small win that can maybe make things better?
For this 5 days of this program, I think it has been a very wonderful opportunity to be able to not just learn from the ministers or the high-ranking officials from the Malaysian side, but more importantly to learn from my colleagues, my sisters, my brothers in the program as well. There are many things that could be brought back to adapt in Thailand, but what I think is really important is in the sense of economics and poverty reduction, because what I have exchanged and what I have learned is that the parliamentary system of different countries is different. The economic aspects, the population, the demographic is different. But definitely, different countries have similar ways of tackling problems of disruption, like I mentioned earlier. Different countries have similar ways of tackling or engaging with the youth or the civil society. So yeah, there's many things that I've learned with my colleagues from this program, and I'll definitely bring all the issues that I collect from this trip to propose to the party later this week.
Rahayu?
This program has allowed for a lot of very candid and intimate discussions with the leaders, and as Top said, it's very refreshing for us to be able to hear directly the changes that's happening. And from amongst us also, we've had many opportunities to discuss and share. So I think what we really definitely will take back is that relationship and that basic sort of understanding of each other, and something we can continue to build on and collaborate on. I think it's that spirit that has been sort of energized of wanting to try and see how we can take this to the next level and contribute in our own way to ASEAN, and hopefully that will create ripple effects that will actually mean a lot more relationship, trust building from amongst the different communities, and hopefully that will mean a good thing for ASEAN in years to come.
More cross-regional collaborations.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. On that note, thank you very much Rahayu Mazham, Member of Parliament for Jurong GRC, Republic of Singapore, and Pelnocha Chakpet, representative of the Phua Thai Party, membincangkan berkenaan dengan anak muda dan juga ASEAN, dan bagaimanakah kepimpinan di ASEAN boleh ditingkatkan lagi untuk memastikan bahawa masalah anak muda di ASEAN dan juga cabaran yang berdepan anak muda di ASEAN dapat diselesaikan. Saya Rizal Zulkapli, ini AWANI Global.